Hey everyone, welcome to BSR Sports Talk here on BostonSportsRadio.net. I'm Ashish Sharma here with Brian Roach, and we're going to be talking Celtics here today. We're going to be talking about how they're finally starting to hit their stride. I think, three-game winning streak going out over Brooklyn tonight. They have an 8 p.m. start there. Rajon Rondo is questionable for that game after spraining his ankle yesterday at home against Utah, and we'll get to that. But Brian, first I want to talk about the two games that they had out in the Midwest against Milwaukee and Chicago. That one game against Milwaukee was actually, again, a lot closer than a lot of us expected, but it
Yeah,
was still a fun game.
yeah. Milwaukee is actually like a pretty good team. They have a great two-guard combo with Brandon Jennings, Monta Ellis, and it was a very good game from start to finish. Celtics got off to that early lead again, lost it, and then like regained it in the final minutes. Luckily, they can close out games right now. But during that third quarter, it was basically a shootout between Monta Ellis and Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce finished with 25. Monta Ellis had 32. Monta Ellis was 11 for 24 from the field, only 1 of 4 from three-point land, but he made 9 of 10 from the free throw line also. So he got to the basket. He had some I think he had a dunk. He and Paul Pierce traded like if Paul Pierce made a three-pointer, Monta Ellis answered on the other end with a three-pointer, and like they went back and forth when it was like a 2 3-point game, like during the third quarter. So, I mean, overall it was a good game. The final score was 96-92, and it was a good game. So,
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I think Milwaukee surprised a few of us when they were able to beat Boston in their first meeting, but I mean they're off to their best start in a while, and I don't know what year it was since they got off to I think a 3-1 start this year. So I don't know if it's going to last, but Brandon Jennings has always been in my eyes a very good point guard, very underrated actually. I don't think he gets. I mean, he's a very good scoring point guard, and he does dish assists too. So it didn't surprise me that he had a big night, and obviously Monte with the 32 points was
well,
pretty
well
insane.
actually, Ellis was 1 for 11 from the field, 1 for 7 from the three-point line during the game. He only had 4 points, so that was the bad
Oh,
stat.
you mean not Monte Ellis, but Brandon
Jennings,
Jennings. Jennings,
yeah,
yeah, Jennings had a
Jennings,
bad game. Yeah,
yeah, and
in general, I do think he's a good guard. But yeah, you're right. He did have a poor game against the Celtics that day.
yeah.
But another thing that actually was very interesting is Rajon Rondo had 10 assists in that game. But a couple of days later, I had the tweet in front of me a couple of minutes ago. Let's see if I still have it here. Yeah, Sean Grandy, play-by-play for the Celtics on WEI, he tweeted this a couple of days ago. Rajon Rondo has been given an assist that they missed in Milwaukee that makes 11 for the game and thus a new NBA record, 28 straight games of 11 plus. So now he's the all-time 11 plus assists for consecutive games, beating John Stockton. So I thought that was pretty cool because I thought that had come to an end there. And he's still keeping the 10 plus one going after that game in Chicago. That wild, wild, fun end-to-end game in Chicago. That's a pretty good
Yeah,
one.
that was a really good one. I just have to talk about how he got that 10th assist. 22 seconds left. Well, actually, 26 seconds left. Rondo got triple teamed, and Brandon Bass was left wide open, like right near the basket.
That was amazing.
And Rondo found him. He dribbled it once, took it for a layup, and yeah, that was his 10th assist of the game. 22 seconds left in the game, so I
Hmm.
mean, he barely got it, and so
Yeah, I
it
mean,
was,
I think going into the final quarter, we were talking about this before the show. Before the final quarter, he had 6 assists, I believe, going into the fourth. And then
mhm.
he got a couple of lob alley-oops to KG with about 4 minutes to go. And then going into that final minute, he got the 10th one, like you said. He got crowded on the wing, and Brandon Bass was just left wide open. The defense just fell apart there, and he barely got his 10th one. And I thought that was pretty cool that he was able to come in and do that. Especially, I mean, going into the fourth quarter with 6 assists, I was sitting there biting my nails, thinking, "Oh my God, he's going to lose it. He's not going to get it." And
Yeah,
he just, I mean, Rajon Rondo is amazing. He's the type of guy that can amaze you and get 6 assists in a span of 6 minutes, literally averaging an assist a minute or even more than that. He's incredible. So while we are on the subject of Rajon Rondo, he did endure, I want to say, a somewhat minor injury. This isn't going to be something that's going to keep him out of the lineup for too long, I hope. But yesterday in the third quarter of the game against Utah at home, Rondo did sprain his ankle. And we still don't know the severity of it. He's questionable for tonight. So in his place, I don't yet know who's starting tonight for me.
It will probably be Barbossa. That would be my guess.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. But well, hopefully it's not something too serious. But also in that game, that was a good game. They won at home, then on a 3-game winning streak. Jeff Green had probably one of the moments of the year with that dunk on Big Al Jefferson. That was amazing.
Yeah, he posterized him, basically.
Oh, absolutely.
3-point play. Got a
And
technical.
and he got a technical. And I think my favorite part of that whole thing wasn't even the dunk. I think it was Rondo's reaction on the bench, hopping on 1 foot, just celebrating. I thought that was amazing. That was awesome. And
yeah, it was a huge point. It was a huge play for the Celtics too. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Utah was rallying and stuff like that. And
oh yeah, and I think it goes back to something KG said a couple of days ago. He said that Jeff Green is too nice on the court. He has friends on the court. He needs to be more mean, more aggressive, more of a quote-unquote a-hole is what he told the media. He needs to be more like that. And I agreed with him. I was like, Jeff Green, he's too nice. But I think yesterday that wasn't nice, and especially getting teed up after. I think that's the Jeff Green I want to see more of going forward.
Yeah, I mean, so I think the last 3 games he's done pretty well. I know in Milwaukee he did somewhat well. He had 12 points off the bench, and then last game against Chicago, he had 16 points there. Oh no, that was Utah. Against the he had, let's see, I don't think he didn't do. He had only 7 points against Chicago. So I mean, he's done pretty good. I mean, he's not the player the Celtics want right now. But if he plays like he did in Utah, it'd be good.
And I think the frustrating thing with Jeff Green is we see the potential, we know it's there, but it's just so inconsistent with him because we don't know what kind of performance we're gonna get out of him. And sometimes early on in the season, Doc was calling him out saying, not specifically, he didn't use these words, but it kind of gave me the impression that at times he looks clueless on offense. Not totally clueless, but almost like he's not in the right place on a certain set, or he doesn't get to his spot fast enough for Rondo. So it's just little minor things that can be fixed, and that's the frustrating thing. It's so easy to fix. Why is it taking so long with Jeff Green? And yesterday he showed you that obviously he's working on certain things like getting more aggressive, and I think that's what, some people I heard were calling him a little soft. That wasn't soft, so hopefully we see a little bit more of that.
Yeah, the first several games of the season, I would say he was playing more with the second unit, and that sort of threw him off a little because, I mean, sure, he was running the show during the preseason, but those games, quote-unquote, don't count.
Right.
But since he's playing more with the first unit, he's getting more involved with offensive plays. And, I mean, sure, the Celtics don't run that many offensive plays this season. They, run up the court and just try, one shot or something like that. Give it to the wing. But sometimes they run offensive plays, and that's when Green can get involved, driving to the basket, having a 3-pointer now and again. So. And
exactly, and he's very versatile because I've seen him play. He's sort of a 3-4 power forward. He can play both small and power. And when the Celtics are going small, I've seen him play a little bit of center, and that's a little scary considering how undersized he is. But he's versatile, and I think versatility is something on this team that you're seeing a lot of. You're seeing guys that can play multiple positions. What you're talking about, Green or Jason Terry or other guys. So I think that's something that Jeff Green really brings a lot of value to, and we just want to see a little bit more from him, which we've suddenly kind of started to see lately. So speaking of other guys on the bench now, Jason Terry started the first 5 games of the season on the bench, and Courtney Lee was the starter. Recently now, the last 3 games, and you pointed this out, coincidence or not, last 3 games he started, and last 3 games they've won with Jason Terry starting.
Yeah, I mean, sure, the last game he put up a 0. Well, he didn't put up 0 points, but he only had 1 shot. He was over 1 Didn't try any threes. All 3 of his points came from the free throw line. He made all 3 of his attempts. He had played 22 minutes, which is actually like a low for like one of the lowest totals of the season for him.
I believe
I mean,
I believe that is his second lowest. He had a 17-minute game.
yeah, and the thing is, like, he's been fouling a lot. I've noticed, like, that's why he missed some minutes in the first half because he had 2 quick fouls
Yeah.
in this game. In the last game against Milwaukee, he had 2 quick fouls, and in Chicago he had quick fouls too. So
That's right.
I mean,
Yeah, that's right.
he's been spending a lot of time on the bench, just with that. But I mean, he had what 15 against Milwaukee, and what was it, 17 against Chicago?
He had 16 against Washington at home, and then he had a 13-point performance against Philly, and then a 15-point performance and a 13-point performance. So we're actually seeing a lot of contribution from Jason Terry.
Yeah, I mean his career average is 15 points around there. Right now he's only averaging 10. So
Right, and I think early on we were a little unsure with how this team is going to go out. I mean, is it going to be one of those things where they just go out and they're fantastic right off the bat? And I don't think so because, Paul Pierce, KG, and Rondo, it's not about just chemistry. It's also about, I think this team is a team that gets along together. I think it's just a matter of getting to know each other in terms of the play, in terms of how they play defensively, how they play offensively. So maybe chemistry with regards to on the floor, yeah. Because
Tyrese looked good defensively too.
And he's not very well known for his
hasn't
defense too, so
been bad. So
yeah, he's been fine. And I mean, speaking of defense, when
Courtney Lee's been
right. No. When Avery Bradley comes back, which I think he's still about 4 or 5 weeks away, I think he's obviously going to get reinstated into the starting lineup, and then obviously the defense will improve significantly with his presence. But Jason Terry hasn't been bad defensively. And I think he's come as advertised so far. I don't think we should get carried away with anything, good or bad. I mean, we're only, 9 games into the season here? So, obviously, I think we need to have a slightly larger sample size before we start making huge judgments on whether or not guys are performing up to what we expected. Like Courtney Lee, I still think that he can be a big contributor, but I just want to see more. I want to see more.
Yeah, he's been good defensively, but he hasn't put up any shots. I mean, he's made 45% of his shots. But I'm pretty sure it hasn't been that bad. So
yeah, I mean his biggest performance was on opening day, 11 points. Since then he's put up 7, 4, 2, 6, 4, 6. He had a goose egg in between there. Sorry, I missed that. He had a 0 as well against Milwaukee. So and he's averaging 5 for the season. I think he's a guy, and when we got him this offseason, we were thinking this is a guy that can come in and give you some scoring. Obviously, he's not going to be as electrifying as we had Nate Robinson when we had him, because he's a guy that you just plug in as sort of that energizer bunny when you need things to start going. But Jason Terry is a guy who, a 9.8 points per game for his career, you think he can come in and give you about 10, 11 off the bench.
Yeah, and so far he has not done that. So
yeah, so I know we're getting down on a lot of guys like Jeffrey and Courtney Lee, but I think these guys are truly capable of, performing at a higher level and giving more to this team. Now, I do want to quickly move on now to Rajon Rondo. I know we just talked about him for his passing and his assists, which have been phenomenal. I believe he's now currently for his 10-plus assist streak that is still alive, that he kept alive in Chicago. I think it's at 32 now, which is still a little ways away from 44, which Magic Johnson has the all-time record, and I think John Stockton's second with 37. But I don't know. I think we'll save that for another day, whether or not he can actually break the record. I do want to talk about Rajon Rondo's scoring, which seems to have really ramped up this season. Again, it's early in the season, but he looks like he's a man on a mission, looking to score more than ever.
Yeah, I mean, against Chicago, he was 10 or 16 from the field. Sure, most of them were 2-pointers, but he
shorted
had
Derrick
20
Rose
points
as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's been shooting well. I mean, people are still leaving him open. He has that touch. He's probably worked on it all summer and everything like that. But
Right. And Brian, I don't think it's just his mechanics that have improved because I think it's a little bit you can attribute to that. But I think most of it is just his confidence. I think you just see that confidence when he's willing to take that shot. In the past, he used to hesitate a little bit. Now he's not
Yeah,
hesitating so much.
I think the real breakout was that playoff game against the Heat, where he took all those shots and had all those points and just like dominated the Heat.
Yeah, no, I agree that the 40, you can talk about the 44-point performance against the Heat. You can talk about that Game 7 against Philly when he hit two clutch shots at the end. I think only one of those was counted as a three-pointer. The other one was a long two because he actually had his foul line. But, I mean, if you look at this season so far, Rajon Rondo has recorded double digits in scoring every game except for the game against Utah when he left early with the sprained ankle. He put up 6.
But still managed 10 assists.
Still got his 10 assists. That's very important, yes. But, yeah, I mean, I'm looking at his stats so far this season, 14.3 per game in terms of points, and he's giving you 12.6 assists per game. So if he can up the scoring just a couple more points, he finished 8th in MVP voting last year after averaging 12 points per game. Can you imagine if he gets it up to 16 points per game with his current output for assists? He'll be right there.
Yeah.
He'll be right at the top.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying he'll win it over KD or LeBron. I'm saying he could probably get 4th. That's not so hard. I mean, especially for a team that's going to end up in top 4 in the Eastern Conference. Absolutely, it's possible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something special to see now that Rajon Rondo is finally hitting his jumpers. He's taking more threes than ever. I mean, I don't want to go. I kind of just want to say that I've seen him. I don't know if this is true or not, but I think I've seen him attempt more threes this season at this point in the season than I have at any other point.
I've noticed that. I've noticed that too. Like he just like lines it up. So
I mean, he's already attempted. Let's see, 2, 3, 4. I mean, he's already averaged close to about 10 3-pointers this season. I don't think. I mean, if you go back to closer to when he was younger, near his rookie season, I don't think there was a season in which he even attempted that many 10. He's already done it in like the first 10 games. And at least one, except for one game, which is an exception, in every game except for one, he's at least attempted 1 3-pointer. So it shows the confidence. It shows the growth in him as a shooter and a scorer. And I also want to bring up one more very cool stat that I saw. Rajon Rondo's field goal percentage from the 16-foot line to the 3-point line since 2009. Okay, so this is from 16 feet to the 3-point line, which is 23 feet, 22 in the corners. In 2009, from that range, he was shooting 35.2 over the entire season. 2010, he was 42%. 2011, he took a little bit of a dip and went down to 41.3. But in 2012, again, young season, early in the season, but 50% from that range. So in general, we're seeing sort of an upwards trend. We're seeing him get better year after year after year with his shooting, with his scoring. And I think if you're other teams in the league, that's a very scary thing because Rajon Rondo is developing other parts of his game.
Yeah, I mean, more people were like fascinated with all his passing ability and whatnot. But I mean, and he's getting better at the free throw line too. That's a stat that's been improving. I don't have the numbers on it, but I know it's been improving.
Right. As of right now, he's at 50% from the line, which isn't great. But in general, it just seems like he is improving, even though the numbers don't say so. I kind of see it too. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But, you could go to the misses. I remember back in the day, Rondo early in his career, he would miss ugly. Like, it would be off the side of the backboard, off the side of the rim. Now when he misses, more often than not, it's kind of rimming out. You know, it's one of those, almost. You know, so it's kind of like a Kobe miss now. Whereas, I mean, obviously not that far, but, I mean, even his misses are looking better.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about, yeah.
So hopefully it continues. I think Rondo can become one of the guys like a Chris Paul that can give you 16 and 12 a game, and that is fantastic. So so now let's move on now is the play of Leandro Barbossa. I think, and Jared Sullinger, I want to tag him on too. But I think Barbossa had a fantastic debut against the Miami Heat. Let's see, let me pull up his stats here. Leandro Barbossa against the Heat in his Celtics debut, 16 minutes, 6 for 8. Now, it's 6 for 8, but I think he hit his first 6 shots, which was amazing, and just draining them one after the other. For 16 points and an assist and a rebound. I think that was phenomenal. Then he kind of trailed off for a little while. I think Doc should have given him more minutes, but in the next game against Milwaukee, he got 7 minutes off the bench, then 8 minutes, and he combined in those 2 games for 5 points. And then even after that, 2 points, 2 points, 0 points, 6 points. And then finally last night, another big, big game for him off the bench. 16 points, 3 assists, and 2 rebounds.
Yeah, I mean he's been really good. I mean, if he starts tonight against the Nets, then
Right.
he should put up decent numbers. Like he can drive to the basket and stuff like that. So
Right, yeah. Like I said, I'm not sure who is starting for Rondo or if Rondo is. I mean, he's questionable, but I don't know what the deal is yet with that. I'll check in a little while. But Leandro Barbossa is a guy that I see again as a very versatile guy, and that brings a lot of value to a team. And for a head coach, that's a dream come true when you bring in a guy who's versatile because you can stick him in, plug him in anywhere. And I think Leandro Barbossa is a guy that we've kind of seen little flashes of brilliance, and we need to see a little bit more continuance of that. And I think we will. I think we will. I mean, I think this team over the last 3 games has shown you what they can be over an 82-game season. I mean, that's why you don't look at a 5-game stretch and say, oh, wow. You need a little bit more than that. You need 20, 25 games to really evaluate a team and see where they stand other than their win-loss, you know?
yeah, and let me talk about Sullinger a little bbit. I mean, he hasn't been like phenomenal. I'm sure he's a rookie, but he's averaging 3.4 points per game, 3.8 rebounds, zero point 0.8 assists. He hasn't been playing that much. He played 8 minutes in the season opener. He played 7 minutes at Milwaukee, 13 minutes at Chicago, 60 minutes at home against Utah. His biggest game was 30 minutes at Washington, and he only put up 4 points and 7 rebounds. So, I mean, the last few games he only has 2 points against Utah and then 3 points against Chicago because of a straightaway three. And then a Kevin Garnett too. So
Right. No, I think with him, look, there's a lot of pressure on him coming into a team that's established as the Celtics. I was a little puzzled by the decision for Doc to remove Bass from the starting lineup for a little while for Sullinger. I can't remember exactly how many games Sullinger started over Bass, but I think that's a lot of responsibility for a young guy, for a rookie. I think you should keep Bass in the lineup and get Sullinger some minutes off the bench, get him some reps, get him some touches, get him out there, maybe with Rondo where he can find him on a pick and roll or a pick and pop or something like that. So,
yeah,
so I think there's definitely room for growth. I mean, I still think he's a guy that is going to be huge, but you need to give him time to develop. You can't just throw him into the fire. And I think Bass is going to reassume the role of the starting power forward and have Sullinger off the bench.
Yeah, he's had I think he started the last 3 games because he has 32 minutes, 34, and 31. He's put up 8 points, 16 points, and 8 points in the last 3 games. He's really good from the free throw line. He's only missed 2 free throws in like 10, 18, 20, 25 attempts. So he's really good from the free throw line. He's a really good shooter. He's averaged 5.8 rebounds a game, so he's good at that area too, which the Celtics need because they got rebounded really badly by the Utah Jazz.
And yeah, that was something that they really needed. I mean, they needed to go out and get some size. They got Chris Wilcox back after his heart surgery last year. They obviously have KG now playing the center. They went out and drafted a big manager at Sullinger. That was a big need that they needed to address because they were getting out rebounded.
Yeah, how many years is Brandon Bass' contract? It's like 3, right?
He signed a 3-year extension. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that's good. He's a good shooter. He's a good guy.
What an upgrade over Davis, huh? I mean, Baby was fantastic.
Oh, well, actually, have you seen what Davis has been doing in Orlando? He's starting. He has like 15 points a game, something like that.
Yeah,
no, like 18 points a game.
He's their new superstar after Dwight Howard.
And Etuan Moore is starting too. Etuan Moore has like 13 points a game. Yeah.
Really? I liked Etuan Moore. I liked him. I was hoping he could stick around, but. Yeah, but I mean, like you said, Bass and Sullinger are 2 guys that can really. I mean, obviously Bass is a better shooter as of right now. Like we said, much of an upgrade over Glenn Davis. I mean, he was decent, but he hits a lot more shots, and he can actually make layups, unlike somebody, so and doesn't get blocked by the rim. So, yeah, I think we're seeing a little bit more of that size come into play here. They are getting better at their rebounds. I remember last year I was watching the playoffs, and it was sad how teams were just out rebounding the Celtics, not only on the defensive side but on the offensive side. And the
Yeah,
second
offensive
chance points.
bad.
And yeah, I mean, I
Yeah,
remember there was one game where I can't remember the specific of what team or how many chance points they had, but it was something like 20 second chance points, and I was just shaking my head thinking, we need to be better at crashing the boards. We can't allow that to happen. So finally, we have a little bit of size, and I think that's definitely improved. So
yeah. I mean, I think last night Utah had 17 offensive rebounds.
yeah, there you go, there you go. That's something
So,
they still need to
oh
improve.
no, they had 18. They had 18 to 4. That's their offensive rebound
See, that's again something that they
difference.
need to improve on. I mean, it's gotten better, but still, you can't be allowing that many offensive boards. It just can't happen. So, um,
Yeah.
I do want to quickly address one more thing that we just briefly talked about and then skipped over before we sign off from this edition of BSR Sports Talk. I remember talking to you about this a couple of days ago, and then again today before the show. Is Rajon Rondo? You and I kind of had a little discussion about this. His prospect of breaking John Stockton's, or no, or rather Magic Johnson's 44 games of 10 or more assists. I don't think that he's going to get to Magic Johnson. I think he'll break John Stockton's 37. I think he can do that. But for him to continue for another 15 or so games with 10 plus assists, I think that's tough, man. I don't think that's going to happen. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, luckily the games, if he does miss a few games, luckily those games don't count towards like streaks like that.
Right.
Like if he appeared for like a minute, got hurt, and that ruins his streak,
That would
that
be a
wouldn't be
horrible
good.
way to
So
lose the streak. That would be a horrible way to lose the streak. I'm telling you, man. But
yeah,
yeah, no, obviously, I mean, like I remember you were saying it could happen. You were saying at his rate of piling up assists, you don't think it's that far,
but, like he could put up 10 and a quarter the way he like dishes the ball. Like I've seen him do that. Like put like 8 assists in a quarter. Like
Absolutely, no. I agree with you. I agree with you in that sense. But I just
he
think
did it
that he's.
summer. He had
What was that?
yeah.
But
I said that he piles up assists.
yeah, he does. But here's my thinking: is he's gonna have one game where he's gonna drop 25 points and 8 assists, like something like what he did in Chicago with 20 and 10. And I think he's gonna just have one of these games where he's looking to score, and passing is gonna take a little bit of a backseat, especially late in the game where he has to be really aggressive. So whether or not he can do it, absolutely he can. Of course he can. I mean, he made it to 32. What's to say that he can't do another 10 games? I just don't think it will happen. So
Yeah, I understand. I mean, we'll see like how this ankle injury affects him. Like
oh
maybe
yeah,
he'll
oh yeah.
look to pass it more for now until his ankle's fully healed. I don't know. So maybe he'll have like 20 assists and like 2 points.
Right. And the thing I love about Rondo is he's not the type of guy that's concerned with his own stats and streaks and stuff like that. And this is a pretty big streak. I mean, this is a piece of history. You're talking about Magic Johnson and John Stockton, two of the greatest point guards to ever play this game. And for Rondo, I think at the end of the day, he just cares, hey, did we win or did we lose? I really don't care about this streak. Obviously, it's all nice and everything. I want to help this team win, and if that means I need to go out there and only get 8 assists but give them a big scoring night, let's do that. So that's what I love about
Yeah.
this guy. He's a total team player, and he's not like some other guys that we've seen in sports that, will do things like what Ricky Davis did a few years ago when he was a rebound shy of a triple-double, throwing it up against his own rim so that he could get his triple-double. He's not that kind of guy. So that's what I love about Rondo, and if he loses it, but we end up going on this insane winning streak, that's okay with me as a fan, as an analyst of basketball. That's okay with me. So,
Yeah.
all right. So that being said, I think that pretty much wraps it up here for us on this edition of BSR Sports Talk, this Celtics edition. I can see we're wearing green, so obviously it's a Celtics edition here. And yeah, I guess we'll see you guys next Monday. It looks like after the Pats Colts game, and we'll come back at you and break that one down. Hopefully, Andrew Luck doesn't torch the Patriots defense for like 400 yards or something like that. It's very capable of happening, but let's hope that doesn't happen. Brian, thanks a lot. I'm Aashish Sharma, and we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot, guys. Good night.